In tonight's deep dive, major changes for SNAP benefits going into effect when the clock strikes midnight. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that more than 2 million people could lose benefits because of new work requirements and changes to exemptions. It's all part of President Trump's signature tax and spending plan passed last summer. Our Alex Presha joins me now, along with Eric Mitchell, the president of the Alliance to End Hunger. Alex, let's start with you. Break down what's changing overnight.
Well, Andrew, let's start with this work requirement, a new 80 hours per month work requirement for able-bodied individuals. Also, a part of that is now they're for individuals that are aged 18 to 64. Previously, the work requirement capped out at about 55. And for family members that take care of dependents, they used to have an exemption for dependents under the age of 18. Now that has shrunk, and it ends for dependents under the age of 14. We also saw exemptions removed for homeless individuals, veterans, and young adults who are in foster care. Additionally, this bill significantly restricts benefits to only apply to certain lawful permanent residents here. It eliminates eligibility for others legally present in the United States. But as you mentioned, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that between 2025 and 2034, 1.1 million people will lose SNAP benefits. Another 1 million people, it estimates, could have those benefits reduced because they are no longer eligible for exemptions.
And Eric, what do you make of all these changes made in that GOP mega bill?
Well, the GOP mega bill really, quite honestly, is a bill that is just really attacking some of the most vulnerable people in our country. As Alex mentioned, for folks who are going to be impacted by these changes are families with children under 18, older Americans up to age 65. And what these work requirements are going to do is basically make that population was a population that typically is the hardest to try to find steady employment, to now be burdened with trying to prove that they are working 20 hours a week just to be able to be fed. Not to mention, individuals who are dealing with homelessness as well as veterans. These are, again, we are talking about some of the people who are dealing with the most, at times, unstable forms of employment. And so, this is a policy that we feel is unnecessary. There's already work requirements, used for SNAP benefits. And so by extending it and making it even harder, you're just increasing the burden on more Americans.
And so with that, Eric, what do you think the result here could be for those millions of Americans?
Well, it's not only going to just be those millions of Americans who, like Alex mentioned, the over 1 million people who will lose their benefits, and the additional 1 million people who will see their benefits reduced, but it also puts a strain on the broader community. Food banks are already struggling across this country to try to make sure they have enough food on the shelves to be able to take care of those who are trying to put food on the table, as well as your local grocery markets and others who rely on individuals who are receiving SNAP benefits to kind of keep the economy moving forward. This is something that has it's going to be a trickle down effect as it relates to the people who are going to be losing these benefits.
Eric, how are groups like yours helping to work and bridge that gap and maybe some of the confusion and challenges as millions stand to lose these benefits?
We're working with groups in states to talk about how these policy changes are going to impact them directly. I didn't mention the fact that some of the policy changes that's in HR 1 is also going to put more burden on the states, where states are going to have to figure out how to close gaps in their own state budgets to cover what was once going to be covered by the federal government. And so many people are going to have to talk with their state legislatures as well as their governors to make sure that these are priorities in their state budgets. But we're also working with groups to understand what are some of the resources that you can have as relates to being able to make ends meet and be able to qualify for these programs. One thing we have to mention is that this is a program where it's serving over 40 million Americans. This is the largest nutrition program in the country. So any changes to this is going to have a drastic impact on people. And so it's going to be up to us to really educate folks on what those impacts mean. And I really appreciate you guys, making this a topic for today.
And Alex, this could be a really difficult week for people. How do they even know if they're about to lose their benefits?
Well, that's part of the big confusion here. Number one, you're talking about, as Eric mentioned, a program that some 42 million Americans depend on. But it's not like, there's a website that you can go to and type in your name and your credentials and figure out whether or not you're still eligible. Listen, the reality is that in some states, those benefits are going to evaporate tomorrow, and when the clock strikes midnight, for folks, especially for folks that can't prove their work history. But other states are going to try to at least give a little bit more of a runway, a little bit more of a buffer before starting to kind of wean people off of these programs. But when we talk to a lot of food banks, that is their big concern. It is the uncertainty. It is the hodgepodgeness, if you will, of this taking effect, and they're hearing concern from a lot of people that are dependent on these programs.
Excellent point and good insight from you both, Eric Mitchell and Alex Presha. Thank you.